This is the easiest way to take care. It is slow release fertilizer. It is released slowly into the ground. Fruit trees are a very important asset in your homestead. It's something you can plant once and harvest for many years to come. I thought I'd give you a tour of all of our fruit and nut trees, and while I'm doing that, take you through how we selected each variety and what we do to maintain our trees so that they produce for a long time to come. So let's go ahead and get started. This tree that I'm standing next to is our plum tree. As you can see, it's fully loaded. This plum is a self-pollinator. It does not need another tree. It's the only stone fruit tree we have at the moment, and as you can see, it's doing really good. This will be the third year that we've gotten a harvest off of our plum tree. We use plums mainly for making jelly. They make really good jelly, and that's one of the main reasons that we decided to plant a plum tree. Be careful when you buy a plum tree. There are ornamental plums that do bear plums that are not very tasty. Get you a tree that is good for out-of-hand eating, and to me, in my opinion, those make the best jams and jellies anyway. Let's go see the next tree. This is our cherry tree. This is in an area of our property that's a little bit grown up because it's a little hard to get to. We don't have a back gate on our pasture right now. That's something we gotta work on this coming summer. So this is an area that's kind of hard to get to, and because of that, these trees don't get taken very good care of. And that brings me to my next point about where you put trees is to think long term. Where you plant these trees is where they're going to be more than likely, and so make sure that you plant them somewhere that is easy to get to, it's easy to take care of. The goats are talking to me. They think I'm out here to feed them. Most of the time the birds get more cherries than we get, just simply because we just don't take very good care of it. So that's my first tip. Also, don't think when it's just a small little tree that you plant, think what it's going to be like when it's fully grown and how well you're going to be able to take care of it. So proper site selection is key. This is our apple tree. I'm gonna tell you a story about this apple tree. This was a gift when we purchased our property. There was this apple tree and another apple tree just like it that did not survive. We've been on this property for 14 years, so this tree is about 14 years plus, I think it was a couple of years old. So this is a 15, 16-year-old tree. The problem with this tree is not a self-pollinator. It needs another apple tree to produce. And so this tree, while it's large and beautiful, it does not bear any fruit to speak of. I believe that there's been one apple spotted on this tree in the last 16 years. Really be careful when you're purchasing trees and make sure that make sure you do your research. If you're going to buy trees that need a pollinator, maybe pick up an extra one, you never know, just in case. Maybe get a spare, just in case one does not survive. The smart thing would have been to replace that tree that died with another tree, but we did not do that. Again, this tree is planted in a neglected area of our property, and because of that, it does not get the best care and pruning. As you can see, this tree is in desperate need of some pruning. Part of taking care of trees is pruning. It may seem counterproductive to cut off branches off your tree that's growing, but you want good branches that are able to support the fruit that is being grown on them. You don't want branches that grow in. There's lots of great videos on YouTube about how to prune a tree. And as you can see from the look of this apple tree, it's never been pruned. And so I'm probably not the person to tell you how to prune. I want to take you and show you 3 other trees that we have that are brand new that were just planted this past month. And we'll talk about our next tip. Next tree I want to show you, this is one of 2. This is a pawpaw tree. One of 2. I have 2 planted just like it. One is about 30 foot that way. These are new trees that were just planted a month or 2 ago. As you can see they're just starting to just show little buds on them. Brings me to my final 2 points. Trees can be very expensive. You can spend $40 and up on a tree. If you really want to save money on trees, I suggest you start looking in your own state. Our state, Tennessee, has an environmental council every year that has a drive every year that is called a tree day, and you can purchase native species trees to plant on your property. They are very inexpensive, usually between $2 and $5 per tree. These pawpaw trees were $3 each. We have these 2 pawpaw trees and we have a pecan tree, and I'm not going to show you the pecan tree because it looks just like this. I just don't want to get back down on the ground after this. If you've got a large homestead and you want to plant a lot of trees, I recommend checking out, seeing if your state has that program, and purchasing trees. We purchased these back in December around Christmas, and we took delivery in March, early March. You can see that they're very small. They come as bare root trees, and they're very young trees. So these are going to take a couple of extra years to bear fruit. So we're not really expecting any fruit out of these trees for quite some time. But in the future, hopefully we will have some nice native fresh pawpaws. For those of you that not familiar with this tree, it's spelled P-A-W, P-A-W. It is a native tree. And so I'm looking forward, hoping this grows. My last tip that I want to share with you is what we do to maintain our trees, mainly what we do to fertilize our trees. Yes, trees need fertilizer when they're young. They need to be fertilized and watered frequently. So if you don't have we've had a really wet spring so far, and so we've not had to water these. But if you don't have a good wet spring, you need to make sure you water them on a regular basis. Make sure you mark them with something. This is here so we don't mow over them. And it will also be here in case the tree needs some help growing straight. My next tip is to get yourself some of these. These are fruit, nut, and citrus fertilizer spikes. There's instructions on the back. You measure, you kind of use your eyeball. You measure the what's called the drip line diameter, which is pretty much how widespread the branches are, and for each foot of drip line, like say for a small tree, this will be much less than 4 foot, and so you would use one spike. Now if you have, like our plum tree is a 6 foot drip line, then you would use 2 spikes. Our apple tree is probably more like a 10 to 12, maybe 10, so you would need to use more. Miracle Grow makes these. Are hard to find. This brand is available at most big box stores. Be careful, because a lot of times you'll see the evergreen spikes. Make sure you get the one that is meant for fruit and nuts. But I highly recommend that you get these. This is the easiest way to take care. It is slow release fertilizer. It is released slowly into the ground as your tree is growing. We fertilize our trees early spring, sometimes late winter, depending if it's a mild winter or not. So go get you some fruit trees and put them in your homestead. It'll be one of those things that'll take you a few years to get your first fruit, but when you do, it'll be so rewarding. Now, I've got to figure out how I'm going to get off this ground. See you later.